Focus of this video is to use CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets, to format the elements on your web pages. And throughout I'm going to use this page to demonstrate. I'm going to start with the page you see here and take it to what you see now. So one note before we start off. Previously we learned how to use the Browser Plus plugin in Atom, but for our purposes this one, it did not display the page correctly as I went along. So I've installed another plugin within Atom called Atom-Browser, and that one shows us what we need to see when we need to see it. Okay, so we can close our settings. The CSS example page is the one that you've seen, the first one that I showed just before coming into Atom. And to display that in the Atom browser that I installed, right click on the file you want to see, go down to the bottom where it says Atom Preview, and it brings up that page. One other quick note is you'll see I have some text that goes way beyond the end of the screen. You can go under View and go Toggle Soft Wrap, and that just wraps everything so you can see all of your text. Up till now we have been using CSS, but we've had to put it in line with each of our HTML objects, which makes it very time consuming, especially when we want to repeat the same thing on multiple objects. So let's look at our images, for example. If we wanted to set them all to a specific height before, we would have added a style string in there, went height, let's say 200 pixels. And up till now, we would have put that style string each one of our objects, which, as you can see, will make it very time consuming. Let's just back up and we'll start off with that and see how we can set them all at the same time. So we'll just get rid of that in there, go back to that. And now up in our head, we can add a style section. And then we can define styles for different types of objects. Here, let's just go image. And then between the parentheses, we can put all of the style elements that we want to use for our images. So let's start off with the height. We set 200 pixels. And then you can see, so from this style, anytime an image pops up, it sets all of those images to its height of 200. The next thing to note is maybe we want this group of images, so the Siksika images at the top, to be bigger than these fruit images at the bottom. We can split those out and do those separately too. And the way that we have to do that is we have to identify our images down here as something different from each other, and we'll use that with a CSS class. So we'll type class is equal to, and in quotes, we'll call that Siksika. And we'll add that class to each of those. And then we go image.siksika and save that. And you'll notice that it only applies to our images that we identified as Siksika. We can add another one, image.fruit, and give that a different height. And then of course we have to come down here and add the class name. So that was even kind of tedious to add the class equals fruit to all of our images. So what we can do is back this up and move our class to the div. and then come up here, add div dot fruit. So any div with the class named fruit containing any image, that image will have this style. So to show that it actually worked, we didn't switch. So if I save that with the wrong name, it goes back to that. So let's do the same thing for our 6 images. Div class is equal to Sica. Div.Sica image. Okay, and we get the result that we want. Okay, before we go any further, there's 2 things I want you to note. The first is that style class doesn't have to have a type of element associated with it. So let me just use, for example, if I go .bordered, that gives me class bordered, and let's just say border solid 4 pixels. Now if I go to any object anywhere in my HTML and add the class equals bordered and save it, whatever element I added that class to, it adds that border to it regardless of type. The other thing that I want you to note is I can add multiple classes to one element. So this div with the fruit, I can go class is equal to fruit, and I just list them all within the same string. Bordered. And you'll see it applied the substyle to our fruit that we got here, and it also applied the border. So let's just go back and get rid of that. In my opinion, it's just nice to associate styles with object types, but you'll run into situations where you may want to have a generic class that can be applied to multiple different types of objects. Even though we've already used the div.Sica and div.fruit, we can reuse those to apply styles to the divs themselves. If we want to center our images in our div, we can add a text align center. That gives us that. Center these ones as well. We can apply styles to the entire page by going body and putting items in there. We can do things like add a background color, change the font family, we can change any one of our headings. Remember, we can apply style by object type instead of by class. So all of our heading 1s could be assigned a style at the same time. Let's apply some more style to the bolded text within that paragraph made up of the lorem ipsum text. Let's give it a class of lorem. The element we want to change is our bold elements. And let's say we want to make our bolded elements a different font. And let's also make them italicized at the same time. And the step I forgot was to say this has the class of lorem. And now we see our bolded element updated. So you can see this is a lot less work than if we'd went through and typed in all of those styles for each and every element, especially on a longer page where you might have dozens of elements that need the same style. One more major advantage that CSS has is that we can take all these styles, put them in a separate file, and then we can reuse it on multiple pages. So first thing, let's create a new file. Save it in the same folder. Let's name it CSS example.css. Take all of this between the style tags, cut that, and paste it into our CSS file. So now if we save this example again, you'll see that it goes right back to where we started from. To get our page to use the CSS file that we just created, we're going to replace the style object with a link. So we start off with link, give it the location for it, which was CSS example.css. The relationship is a style sheet, and the type is text/CSS. There we go. And just to restate that, the major advantage of doing it that way is you can take that same style sheet file and use it in other pages. One more little aside is how to set the image. One more little aside is how to set the icon on your browser tabs. So we can go another link, give it a href as well, to an image that we want. So let's use sitka.jpg. The relationship is icon. If we save that, you can't see it in the Atom browser here, but if we come back over here, reload here, we can see up on our browser tab we got our Sitka icon up there.